Hi, this is Dr. Mark Santa. Welcome to our Breakthrough Coaching Facebook Live here with Wendy Lee. Hey, Wendy, how you doing? And we have a great session today. It's all about patient finances. And as people are seeing their practices return to pre-COVID levels and more folks are coming in who haven't been in before. I honestly, after I just got off the phone with one of our clients, she had 67 new patients last month.
It's really great.
Yeah, which is just awesome. So happy for her. And that's in little West Virginia, imagine. And so just doing wonderfully and having to deal with all of the different things that happen when you process 67 new patients in a month. And one of the main things you have to consider is patient finances. And so we've titled this session Patient Finances. It's not about the money, and it really isn't. It's about the value that you're delivering as a chiropractor, a chiropractic team member. And so we're going to have some fun with this today. So there you go. Patient finances. It is most certainly not about the money. Notice that I have my little graphic as contactless payment system up there, right? So that's one of the things we want to talk about now in terms of not only how you set up patient financial plans, but how are you going to handle that as well? So without a doubt, COVID or no COVID, if I asked you, is there going to be more insurance next year than this year, than last year? You, of course, would say, well, there's going to be less. So today's insurance policies, we like to call them phantom benefits because the patients think that they have insurance, especially not to mention any specific insurance companies, but the one that plan that begins with an A and ends with an N, maybe, where patients are being told that they've got unlimited chiropractic benefits, and they come in and actually they have 5 chiropractic visits on a good day. But without a doubt, high deductibles. Deductibles are going up. It's not unusual for a patient to come in 5, 10, 15, even $20,000 deductible. Guess what? That means they don't have it. They have catastrophic insurance. They don't have health insurance specifically for chiropractic care, where you're not going to spend anywhere near $10,000 on chiropractic care. Complicated coverage, more and more complicated coverage. In fact, having to do authorizations and pre-authorizations means that insurance verification of benefits has become actually a job title, is VOB person in the practice. It really does, even with online checking of benefits, it does become a really significant task in the practice. And some folks are having to qualify benefits for therapy versus benefits for chiropractic, and they're changing. Is there the ability to delegate to a chiropractic assistant or not? So there's so much complication going on there. I'm sure if you're in practice right now, you're feeling some of that frustration. You probably really feel frustrated when you're billing at what is a reasonable and customary fee, only to have the insurance company come back and say, well, guess what? We're going to be paying you $21 for a service that is worth $45, right? So limits in coverage, limits in approval, and again, the constantly changing complexion. Now, when somebody comes in with Medicare, you have to say, well, is this a Medicare Advantage plan? Because if it is, all bets are off. It's a whole different thing, and we have to verify all over again. So, you know what we've seen, and we feel the frustration from chiropractors across the country that we work with. More and more of these docs are expanding the cash services that they deliver. They're frustrated with decreased insurance. They know that insurance does bring people through the door, but certainly you wouldn't want to bet your financial future on insurance or coverage for chiropractic services. So we like to say, cash is king, insurance can be queen. Okay. And so having a blend, the best of both, where you can blend whatever limited coverage there is with a private pay or self-pay payment plan is really fantastic. So as coverage decreases, patients are being more responsible for a greater percentage of their care. And the other side of that coin means they have higher expectations. When you're spending your own dollars on healthcare, you expect results and you expect fast results as well. And so that old third party payer relationship where, oh, we'll send the bill to the insurance company and we'll see what happens. Guess what? When somebody's having to decide to spend this money on you or on whatever, their summer vacation or whatever their kids need to make sure that they're staying okay, they're going to be questioning what it is that you do. So what it does allow you to do when you master, and we're going to help you do that in this session today, master blending insurance and cash together, it creates a steady cash flow for the practice, a predictable cash flow for the practice, but it allows you, most importantly, to deliver affordable care to a higher volume of patients. And so moving forward into this post-COVID world, being able to be there and deliver service for your patients at an affordable fee that fits into their family's monthly budget is where it's at.
So a lot of people say, well, my patients can't afford care. And a lot of times we say you need to get out of your patient's wallet. So I like to equate this to a cell phone. So how many patients always have the newest, best, greatest cell phone that there is out there? And probably the cell phone that they had in their hand when they walked in the door to get the new cell phone was perfectly fine. So people can't afford everything, but they can afford anything they actually really want. So we need to identify the wants of the patients. We also need to explain the need. So I might want to feel better. I might want my headaches to go away, but you need to fix X, Y, and Z that are causing the headache. So they really have to understand what it is they need from you. And then you have to provide a quick, easy, nice way for payment. So don't fall prey to that limiting belief that people can't afford the care they need. And don't only recommend the care that is limited by their coverage. This is really, really hard for some doctors. They feel bad for their patients. They feel like their family. They almost feel bad to recommend a full treatment plan. So I always tell, especially new docs, this. It is your legal and moral obligation as a doctor to recommend the care they need. It's their choice whether they're going to take a partial part of your plan or do the whole entire thing, but don't limit them because you think they can't afford it, because you're recommending care that's not proper for what is wrong with the patient. And again, don't live in that patient's wallet.
That's a great point, Wendy.
So we need to raise the value of what you're doing. So patients will pay for things that are worth something to themselves. So this was said to us years ago when we were at a conference, who is your biggest competitor? And it's not the chiropractor down the street. It's Target. It's Starbucks. It's the fancy new shoes that your patient wants to buy. It's wherever they're going to spend their money. So now that they're paying for you, and this is a new concept in healthcare, my primary care physician does not understand this idea. The specialists in the healthcare industry, they don't understand this idea. You have to have great customer service and a really great value. So you have to define the importance, the worth, and the usefulness of what you're doing. And that's all done on days 1, 2, and 3 in your practice. So raise your hand if you like talking about money. Normally we say this, we're in a whole room full of 100 people. Nobody likes talking about money. They're either embarrassed because they don't make enough, or they're embarrassed because they make too much, or well, if you're a millionaire and you're really proud of it, you're that Joe Schmo CEO. He probably likes talking about money and he'll have no problem paying for your care, but nobody likes talking about money. So when you are going to do these financial consults, you need to make sure that you're not apologetic, that you don't feel bad, that you're not embarrassed. You're basically going to lay out, here's what insurance covers, here's what you need. Very, very a matter of fact, not rude, just this is what you need, here's your options, make a choice.
So it is definitely cause and effect. And as patients are paying more for their care, what does that mean to you in your practice? Well, unfortunately, for some practices, and this really is a pet peeve, is they offer their service at reduced fees and they try to make deals for patients. And we have some of the practices that I see when I go across the country. You can go online where they're doing $10 adjustments or $29 office visits. And you know what? You get a lot of patients coming in. But that's not a value. That's not a service that you went to a chiropractic college and took on a couple of $100,000 worth of debt, student loan debt to be able to pay. You want to have a value for the service yourself, right? You can't sell what you don't own. So number one, knowing the value of the chiropractic care that you have, not only in terms of pain relief, which is really a superficial component of chiropractic, but in terms of how it can impact the overall health of that patient. And when I say health, there's a lot of research out there that looks at the diminished posture, diminished function, and diminished longevity, right? I call it the posture longevity connection. And so when you're delivering high quality chiropractic care and you're restoring the curves in the spine and you're having somebody be able to stand straight again, be more flexible, be more mobile, stay more active throughout their life, you're adding tremendous value. Yeah, it's great that chiropractic relieves pain. I like to say that's a side effect of chiropractic care. If you decrease inflammation, you're going to most likely decrease pain. And gosh, Advil can decrease inflammation. But to make a long-term correction that is going to impact that human being globally, that has tremendous, tremendous value. You need to own that. You need to stand on the science. And your practice team members need to be aware of that as well. Teach your practice team members the science of healing. Teach them about the phases of care and what it is that we do to have people live a healthy, vibrant life from, we like to say, the womb to the tomb, right? All the way through life, you should be like a candle burning brightly. So from a patient perspective, as we mentioned, they're going to hold you accountable for results. And being able to communicate clearly where patients are in their treatment plan, what the goals are for that segment of care, and what comes next and where they are in their healing process is absolutely essential. Most patients drop out of care simply because the chiropractor neglects to tell them where they are and how they're doing in terms of they just think, well, I'm just going to keep coming 3 times a week forever. And when you can let patients know that we're going to be monitoring your progress, we're going to be checking very specific health parameters as we progress through care. I'm going to know where you are in care. You're going to know where you are in care. And together, we're going to make decisions that will be able to end up in having you on a wellness care plan that'll help maintain all the hard work you're putting in right now. That's a super important thing to be able to communicate. So people's most valuable asset, quite frankly, is not their money. It's their time, right? We all have limited amount of time. It's the same 24 hours during the day. And so being respectful of people's time, understanding, getting them in the office, getting them out of the office. I like to call it that 45-minute rule, is that the longer an office visit goes beyond 45 minutes, you'll see patient retention drop significantly. So go ahead and take a timer and do what we call door slam time, right? From when the door closes in the parking lot on the way in and when it closes on the way out. And the more you get over 45 minutes for that door slam time, you're going to have a greater difficulty retaining patients for the long term. It's going to be really important for you to build the perceived value of care. So there's cost and then there's value, right? So cost is the price tag that something has on it. Well, it may or may not be worth that price. Value is, how does that service impact me in terms of the things, not only the things that I need, as Wendy was saying before, but the things that I want. And so being able to communicate in terms of what it is that the patient is there for. So having that conversation in your consultation and examination becomes even more important to position the care that you're delivering and the care that the patient is paying for with what the patient values the most. You know, I like to use the analogy of a drill, and people go to a hardware store and they buy drills every day. But I can tell you, no one ever went into a hardware store and bought a drill because they wanted a drill. What they wanted was a hole inside something, right? And so if the patient's need is the drill and the want is the hole in something, in other words, their need is to get chiropractic care, but their want is to be able to play with their grandkids or to be able to sit at their desk for a longer period of time without hurting, or even to get out and play a game of golf or do the things that they most value. And probably one of those is staying healthy and work and providing for their family. If we're not speaking in those terms, we're going to have a disconnect, right? We're trying to sell a drill. Nobody wants it. As much as I love chiropractic adjustments, nobody wants a chiropractic adjustment. They want how they feel after they receive a chiropractic adjustment. So don't be this guy up on the screen, Monty Hall, right? In his wonderful show, Let's Make a Deal. And I forget who it was behind Carol.
That jacket.
Right. Nice jacket. Nice jacket. Nice hair too. Let's not do let's make a deal when it comes to your patients, right? For a couple of reasons. Number one, it diminishes the value. When you're wishy-washy on the value, patients are going to perceive that. They're going to understand it. They're going to know it. And they're going to question you on it, right? They'll test you and push you until you back up. But from another perspective, and this is really key, and you know, there's a lot of chiropractors out there who really aren't up to speed on what they can do and can't do in terms of discounting their fees. And I think if more chiropractors were aware of it, I think you'd see a lot less of the $10 billboards and $29 coupons in the mail, that sort of stuff. The laws are super, super specific when it comes to what you can and what you can't do when it comes to legally discounting your fees. The stark laws are the laws that prohibit inducement. So an inducement means I'm inducing you to purchase care or receive care that you may or may not need, to maybe overutilize care for care you may or may not need. And so lowering of my fees or giving a free service that I would normally charge for can be seen as an inducement. It's flat out illegal when it comes to federal health care plans like Medicare and Medicaid and other federal Blue Cross Blue Shields. It's flat out illegal for you to give any sort of an inducement free service to those patients. However, it's going to breach your payer contract in most instances if you're not collecting co-payments and deductibles, or you're having a dual fee schedule, the same CPT code offered to patients at a different fee. Or if you're using the financial hardship concept that everybody who comes in has a financial hardship. And listen, I know we're in the COVID pandemic right now. Still many people laid off or furloughed from work, And there are bona fide existing hardships, but when they exist, having a patient receive a hardship waiver is a very specific procedure that you must follow, must be in writing. You must have very specific parameters that you're measuring and checking, and it has to be time limited. That patient can't go on a financial hardship forever. That has to be renewed on a regular basis. So if you're using the tool of a financial hardship and you get audited and everybody in your practices has a financial hardship form in their file, or worse, they're getting a let's make a deal and there is no hardship form in there, you're going to be hard pressed to defend yourself in that particular situation in terms of any type of an audit. So we want you to be very careful. We do understand that there are times, especially now, when a limited hardship agreement can be offered to a patient, but it certainly isn't a blanket tool for patient financial management, and it should be used only sparingly and when needed.
Okay, so this is really important. This is your do not list. I usually like the do list and keep everything's positive, but on this case, this is the do not list. So do not waive copays. That is against your provider agreement, and again, it induces patients to come in. We had one yesterday that came in who said, Dr. So-and-so never collected my copay. Why are you going to collect it? It also makes a bad precedent for all your brothers and sisters in chiropractic care. If a patient moves to another location, now they have to explain why they're collecting a copay when you didn't, without making you look bad. Also, don't waive deductibles. A lot of times I've seen a couple doctors, they'll waive the $250 deductible thinking that on the back end, it'll be more beneficial for them. It's also not, it's illegal in some cases, and it's against your contracts in some cases. Do not offer services for free. Do not induce or entice the patients for care based on money. Do not routinely give hardships. Do not have a dual fee schedule caused by a prepaid discount, or even any other ways to have discounts. I was in somebody's account the other day. We did a share screen, and they had 4 or 5 different fees listed in their EHR system. So the first thing they're going to ask in an audit is for you to print your CPT code list. If you have 98940 and it's 50, 55, 20, that's a dual fee schedule. All of your fees need to be the same all the way down. And you cannot incentivize certain groups. I know we love our heroes. I know we love our first responders. It used to be super popular back in the day to waive copays for police officers and firefighters and such. Well, that is a nice idea. It's also not something we should be doing. Okay, so we're going to talk about legal discounts. Some states will allow you to do a time of service discount, very much as part of their state regulations. As long as you do it across the board for every person who walks in the door, you can do like a per visit max or a 10% discount or whatever it is. There's also discount medical plan organizations. Many of you have heard of CHUSA or ChiroHealth USA. That is something that a patient pays to be a part of, and then we're going to explain in a minute why they're legal, but it gives you a global way in the states that don't allow time of service discounts to offer discounts to those underinsured or pretend insured patients. Number one, they're legal because they're global to all. Anybody who decides to join them can have access to that discount. It does not encourage patients to pay for care they need. It just gives them a global discount to make it affordable should they not have the insurance coverage that they need. And it's a great tool for patients to afford this care. Okay, so here's how it works. And so you start with all of your set office fees. So every single CPT code should have the same fee all the way down, and it should be that way printed in your EHR system. So then what happens is so if your patient, usually if they're going to pay out of pocket, they're going to pay full fee per CPT code. So if you come in and you do a re-exam, an adjustment, an extremity, and 2 therapy codes, that patient has to buy all five services at once. And so you know what your full fees are. They're probably $200, $250 for the entire visit. Not many patients can afford to do that. So that's why insurance was brought to be. So those insurance contracts, or they set their fee schedule. But unfortunately for us, the provider, the insurance company sets whatever fee schedule they think is appropriate. So, your fees go into Medicare, Medicare spits out an allowed amount and a patient responsibility. You send it to Blue Cross does the same thing. They spit out the patient responsibility and what's allowed. And again, it goes all the way through for all the insurance companies work the same way. So the caveat is that, and then they assign the copays, the co-insurances, and the deductibles. And I always put on patient bills, this is your bill represents your copays, co-insurances, or deductibles as assigned by your insurance carrier. Scripting is key on anything you're doing. I don't want them to think I'm mean because I'm telling them they have a $500 deductible. I didn't purchase that plan. I didn't make the decision. And a lot of times the patient didn't either. It's the insurance company that sets these parameters. I always, not to paint the insurance company as a bad guy, but it's their rules. So let's let the patients know that it's the insurance company's rules that why you have to pay this amount of money. But then there's these discount plans, specifically ChiroHealth USA has been a really great company that we recommend. And what that is it's a discount plan. They have some other ones in the prescription industry, the dental industry. These discount plans have been around for a while. But what happens is the patient elects to join them. It's usually $49, I think is the number, dollar fee per year per family. To join this, it works just like an insurance company. There is a fee schedule, but the key to this is this fee schedule is set by you. So you don't have to pay, you don't have to have that third party then like Medicare taking your numbers down or limiting you, or that certain insurance company that we shall not be named that only pays you $36 or $45 a visit. You can set your fee schedule. You can make a max per service, you can do a per day cap, you could do a per day cap for first aid charges. There's lots of ways to do it. You can also do family plans by using this. But it's all legal because the patient paid to access the discount. So it isn't that you're against any contracts. So it's a discount fee per CPT or global visit. And the nice thing is they walk you all the way through it and you get to make the choices you want.
So when we talk about increasing perceived value, people always value something that is custom designed more than something off the shelf. So for example, if you were to have a suit made or a dress made, having one that's custom tailored for you, it's going to fit better, it'll look better, and it's going to probably cost a little bit more. And you can use the same concept for your care. I know that you don't cookie cut your patient care, your case management or your treatment plan. You don't do that. I know that there's going to be similarities because we're dealing with human beings and all human bodies respond according to the laws of physiology. And so there's going to be similarities, but each person based upon any underlying conditions, the length of time that they've had the condition, the severity of the condition, there are other factors such as their age, how they've taken care of themselves. These are all going to impact care, the length of care, the duration of care, and of course, the cost of care. So it's really important to let patients know. You have to connect the dots for them. Don't expect that all patients know that you custom design your treatment plan for them. They don't know that. They don't know very much about chiropractic at all. They certainly don't know that every time you deliver a chiropractic adjustment, you're actually checking them to see if they have a subluxation, adjusting them, and then after you deliver the chiropractic adjustment, checking them to see if a correction was made. People don't know that. They think the whole thing is a chiropractic adjustment. So being specific with patients about how we're going to custom tailor not only our treatment plan, but actually the examination that you're performing on patients. You know, the exam that you perform on each patient, it can actually also be unique, right? It's not that we're going to do one blanket exam. If somebody comes in with a chief complaint of cervical spine, I might not be examining the lumbar spine at this particular instance. Let people know that based upon the history that you perform, in other words, the questions that you ask the patient and the responses that they provide, it's going to allow you to determine which tests you're going to perform, which type of evaluations that you're going to do, if you're going to take x-rays or not, based upon what it is that we derive in the history, the time that we spend speaking to each other about what it is that brought them into the practice. So letting patients know that we're customizing their patient experience right from the get-go, right from patient history on, is really important. And it really increases the value that patients place on that service when they know that I'm not just being railroaded through here. I'm actually having an experience here that is created especially for my specific condition. So if you hear from patients on a regular basis, hey, you know what, doc? That was the most thorough exam I've ever had. That was the best exam. I know chiropractors, we really get stoked when we hear somebody say that to us. We really feel wonderful, right? You hear patients say, you know what? Nobody ever really touched me or had me bend or move in that way. Whenever I've gone to a doctor before, sat in a chair, they looked at a chart, they maybe ordered some tests and gave me a prescription. No one ever examined me the way that I was examined by the chiropractor. That's a really big deal, folks. So know that letting patients in on that secret that this is a custom exam is really, really key. So here's some things you can do to build the value of the exam. Number one, be on time, right? I know it's tough right now where you're having to space patients and having to probably process more new patients in a month than you have in the past, but be really conscious of people's time. Be the most important thing is to communicate with them, right? You're not going to have people sitting around the reception room right now. They may be out behind their steering wheel, but be in touch with them. If you're lagging behind, make sure you communicate. Be engaged means be present. You want to, we so many things that you could be talking about right now that are not wonderful things to be talking about, right? There's a lot of trouble in the world. People are coming to your office for relief. So create an environment of peace, create an environment of still and of calm. Let it be a place that people come to as a refuge, because you're not going to be talking about social events or the events of the day or whatever's going to play on the 6 o'clock, the 11 o'clock, and the whatever news comes after that, right? Be engaged with them. This may be the only time during that day when somebody is zoom, laser beam focused in on them, right? So make it count. Be absolutely thorough. Let people know that we're really looking for the cause of whatever symptom that they're experiencing right now. We don't want to be pulled off track by the symptom, that's where it is, that's the problem, because it's probably not. There's probably something that's causing that symptom. And it may be local to the symptom. It may be remote from the symptom. The only way I'm going to know that is to perform a thorough exam. When I say be connected, I mean build rapport, be empathetic, connect with that patient as a human being. My good friend Wayne Dyer said it this way. He said, you know what? We are not human beings that have occasional spiritual experiences when we go to church or temple on Sunday or Saturday or Friday or whenever we go to our place of worship, but we are spiritual beings that are having a human experience, right? So understand, making a connection with that person, spirit to spirit, being to being, is absolutely essential. And it's really part of the healing process. I like to say, be quiet. You have 2 ears and 1 mouth, as Jim Parker used to say, for a reason. Now is the time to listen. So a consultation is not a monologue. A consultation is a dialogue. A consultation in history is me listening to the patient, me listening to what limitations the patient have, how long they've been there, are they getting worse? And then asking the patient, well, what have you done in the past? How's that worked out for you? What would happen if this thing, stayed the same and it was like that for another year or two? What do you think would happen then? And listen to the patient, and then be informed. The state of chiropractic research and the information about the quality of life benefits of chiropractic are more and more and more every day. Be informed, stay in touch, be in touch with the organizations that are out there in your state and at a national level that are delivering this great information. Digest it in a form that patients can understand it, and then communicate it to them. Learn what the patient's goals are for care, match that with your goals for their treatment, and understand why that patient's there. And believe me, getting rid of their pain, that's the tip of the iceberg. There's a major part of the iceberg that lies underneath the water, and that is all of the things that the pain impacts. And by the way, the pain is the last thing to show up and the first thing to go away with chiropractic care. When we have pain, there's inflammation, there's disruption of tissue, and those tissues are reformed with scar tissue. Guess what? Scar tissue doesn't necessarily cause pain. It definitely causes reduced movement, decreased flexibility, and the likelihood of a chronic problem reappearing again and again. So stopping care when the pain goes away is leaving the patient just at the beginning of the healing process. So communicating to patients that we're going to work super hard to get rid of the inflammation and get you out of pain. But when that pain goes away, that's when the healing begins. You can add tremendous value to your exams simply by reciting your findings out loud. Most chiropractors do an exam like Marcel Marceau. They go through all of the range of motion and orthopedic tests. Listen, if you do a straight leg raise Lesag's test on a patient, and they're laying supine and you lift their leg, you're looking for nerve root tension sign, and they just think you're lifting their leg. So you need to call out. I use a digital recorder. Some of our practices have a DA or a doctor's assistant or scribe who records the findings or enters them into the software as that exam goes. But if you call out Lesag's test positive on the right-hand side for nerve root tension, you're telling the patient and communicating to the patient, wow, this guy's finding something here. See, when you do your exam, chems test positive on the right-hand side, right? They just think you're bending and twisting their shoulder down toward their hip. They don't know what you're looking for there. So when you go through those tests, call out the findings, call out the positives and negatives. By the way, what that does is it shortens your report of findings tremendously, because you're actually kind of doing your report and doing your differential diagnosis as you go through the examination process. The patient is hearing versus you just put your head down and then you write something down or tap something into a computer screen. Patients don't know what you found. So this absolutely, well, has another side benefit. If you're calling out your findings, it keeps chatty patients quiet. It allows you to move through your exam quicker. So patients are hearing the results as you go along. They're like, okay, it's finding something. It raises the perception of value. Here's what I'm looking for. Here's what I'm checking, right? When there's just silence in that room, it's kind of creepy. It's a little scary. They don't know exactly what you're doing, right? It's a different exam than their medical doctor has ever done on them before. So speak, fill the void, right? Fill the silence. A patient is with you on a journey through that exam. Guess what? big plus is when you utilize this simple procedure of recording your exam, the no-shows for reports decreases. It always would make me nuts in practice when a patient, I would do an exam, sometimes even take x-rays after, and the patient never returned for the report of findings. Well, guess what that means? It means shame on me because I didn't build value in that first visit, right? Value is built in visit number one. When patients are paying for care in an era of managed care, you have to build high perceived value on day one. Used to be way back years ago in practice, you did a lot of razzle dazzle in your reported findings, right? Lots of audio visual stuff. And it might take a half an hour to do an ROF. When you're utilizing this type of a procedure, that report is quick, it's fast, and people show up for it.
Okay, so day 2 has a couple different parts to it. Number 1 is your clinical ROF. Then you have your financial report of findings, and then you move into the treatment. So we can't just skip one of them to move straight to the treatment, and we can't just buzz over it. We have to have value on all 3 levels. When you build value on all 3 of them, you're going to have success.
Wendy, just to hop in, when you say you can't skip one, I've actually seen docs who do day 1 and day 2 all together because they feel that there's a necessity to deliver that chiropractic adjustment as soon as possible. What you do when you actually do that is you lessen the perceived value tremendously. To fire hose somebody on day 1, consult, history, exam, any special tests that you're going to do, a clinical report of findings, a financial report of findings, and the first chiropractic adjustment they've ever experienced in their life, you have blown their mind. And guess what they've retained from that visit? About
Nothing.
exactly 0, except for, holy God, he cracked my neck, right? So I'm going to ask you, even now, this, if somebody has been a chiropractic patient in the past, that's okay to adjust them on their first day, but it's not their first chiropractic visit experience, right? When it's somebody's first chiropractic experience, if you want to be able to not have trouble at all with the finances, please pace yourself. Give yourself the time. When you do that examination and you discharge the patient and you say, tonight I'm going to review our examination findings from today, I'm actually going to develop a treatment plan based upon those findings. And then tomorrow I'll report to you, or if you have someone else in your family that is a significant decision maker in terms of your healthcare, you can bring that person with you as well. I'm going to give you my report of findings tomorrow and let you know what is going to be involved with care. If I think that I can help you, I'm going to tell you that. And if I'm not sure, I'm going to point you in the direction that I think you can be best served. So don't do the fire hose on patients. Take your time. I know docs struggle with that concept sometimes. You will find that your patient retention over the long term goes up much higher, and your success is increased.
So a lot of doctors do not like the report of findings. They feel like they're put on the spot. There's too much realm. They can't control the situation. Patients ask too many questions. And remember, when a patient is asking you questions, they're not questioning you. They trust your opinion and they're asking you questions. And unfortunately, you've probably heard those questions 9 million times if you've been in practice 15 years, and probably 5 times today. But this is the first time that that patient is asking that question. So many doctors dislike the ROF. They don't want to be viewed as a car salesman. You know, I just bought a car a couple weeks ago. Thank goodness, right before COVID, I purchased it. And I knew exactly what I wanted and what the price was in and out the door. Still took me 2.5 hours. I still had to talk to the manager and they still had to do that whole game. So we don't want to be able to do that. We want to just go in, matter of fact, tell them why are they having pain and what your plan is. And think of this is your time to shine. So think about what Mark just said. I'm going to go tonight and I'm going to review your exam findings. I'm going to create you a customized treatment plan. The patients think that you only put work in when they're in front of you. They don't understand insurance companies, notes, documentation, any of that type stuff. They think that it's just, he only spent 15 minutes with me. It's a lot more than that. So when you let them know up front, I'm going to create this customized treatment plan, and then you come back and you say, here's my treatment plan. Here's what I think. Here's why you have pain. Make sure you're using real word diagnoses. Nothing makes me crazier than when a patient calls and says, well, I went to a so-and-so and they gave me a diagnosis. Well, I'm bringing up their EHR. It's the exact diagnosis we assigned them, but for some reason we didn't communicate it with them correctly. So use the real words so that they know that it's a real medical condition, and then explain in people terms what that means. What is a herniated disc? Not everybody knows. Selling is never about convincing. It's always about helping somebody. And that helps with that authenticity as well.
Absolutely. So your clinical ROF, write these down on a note card. You can't skip any one of those. They're the 4 key questions that you must answer. Number 1, you got to let the patient know what's wrong with them, right? What's causing the problem? We found what's causing your problem. And here's what it is. Can I fix it? Based upon my years of experience in chiropractic, this is exactly the type of condition that responds excellently to chiropractic care. Will it hurt? We're going to be applying gentle chiropractic adjustments by hand on your spine. It's going to relieve pressure from the joint. It's going to help you be more flexible. It's going to help relieve some of the tension and stress, and most importantly, the inflammation that's causing the pain there. Once that inflammation has gone away, we're going to work together, because I'm going to give you some stretches to do at home that are going to help the flexibility maintain. And then we'll give you some exercises to do as well. And that's going to help lock things in place and keep you strong for the long term. And how long is it going to last? Well, based upon other patients who've had a similar situation to yours, I'm going to be seeing you on what we call a decreasing frequency of care. That means in the beginning, I'm going to be able to check you. I'll apply a chiropractic adjustment. It'll last about a day. You'll go home, you'll mess it up, and you'll come back in a day or so, and I'll find that needs to be corrected again. But after a period of time, and I'll be checking and measuring you as you go through, I'll be able to apply a chiropractic adjustment at the beginning of the week. And guess what? It'll last 1, 2, 3, 4 days, all the way to the end of the week. And that's super. That means we can lengthen out the time between care. And then finally, that visit, when I check you and give you that chiropractic adjustment, it'll last a whole week, and 2 weeks, 3 weeks. My goal is to get you out to at least a month. Some people, they have really heavy physical jobs, might last 2 to 3 weeks, but I'd like you to be where you can just come in and get a tune-up. I'll check you and send you on your way. And that's going to take a period of time, and it's going to be a period of weeks. And in your specific case, I'm going to see you, and you let the patient know for their acute care, how many weeks it's going to be, for their corrective care, how many weeks it's going to be, and then for their stabilization care, how many weeks is it going to be, so that you're giving them a treatment plan based upon their specific condition, but also knowing that we're going to be checking the patient, doing our regular re-exams and reevaluations to test the patient's ability to function as we move through that care plan. When you can do that based on science, I can then communicate that and hand that football to the next person in this process. And that's going to be the individual on your practice team who's delivering the FROF, or financial report of findings. So when your clinical report of findings matches hand in glove with your financial report of findings, followed up by a solid patient scheduling, you're going to have a really great foundation for consistently growing your practice without adding a whole lot of stress. So just some tips. Remember, when that patient's sitting there, especially in visit 1, visit 2, they're freaked out, they're in pain, they're subluxated, it's a new environment. It's a little scary. Sometimes there's noises, the table going up and down or whatever. So what most patients end up remembering from your reported findings is like in the Charlie Brown cartoons, when the teacher would speak up or any of the adults would speak in front of the room, it'd be wah, 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 right? So don't be wah, wah, wah. Make sure you give it to them in writing. In breakthrough coaching, we're really big on having a day 1 handout and a day 2 reported findings handout that details in writing absolutely everything that you're telling the patient, because they simply won't remember it. Be clear. Don't use a lot of jargon with them. Try to speak at a level that engages with them. Don't try to impress them. Be concise. Do let them know. If you found a specific diagnosis, explain that to them. If subluxation is part of that diagnosis, let them know, but don't bury them with doctor talk, right? Say, don't make it sound too severe, but most importantly, don't make it sound not serious enough. Avoid minimizing talk. In other words, a slight misalignment or a slight subluxation, or gosh, I've seen worse, or what you've got here is really not that bad. Don't use minimizing talk. The only way that you can get really good at this and be able to just let it come right off your tongue with meaning and with connection with the patient and rapport is to script it. We're really big in breakthrough coaching. Scripts actually don't tie you down. They free you up to connect with the patient. So I want to know that I'm not surprised when the patient asks me a particular question or has a particular objection, because I've prepared for it. I've practiced, right? Make eye contact. When new docs just starting in practice as associates come out of the reported findings or even out of the exam room, the first question I ask them is, okay, what color eyes did the patient have? And if you can't tell me they had brown eyes or beautiful blue eyes, you weren't looking. You didn't make eye contact. Make connections so that you're finding similarities. People, you build rapport because people like themselves, right? You like people like you. Probably the folks you hang out with have similar likes to you. So find out if you both have kids, if you both grew up in the same town, you both like the same sports or shows or whatever it is. Make a connection and then make sure that you're on the same page with what my expectations are for care for the patient and what the patient expects as well. If I don't get flashing green lights that we're on the same page in terms of expectations, then I have to stop at that point, revisit my conversation with the patient until I get the green light. If you've got somebody who comes in, doesn't come back for ROF, or they come back for ROF and they don't stay, come back again for their second chiropractic adjustment, you're not listening for the cues. You're going too fast. You've got to take the time. And this is one of the points where you want to really connect with that patient. You remember Charlie Brown's adults, you don't want to be wah, wah, wah. You want to be connecting with that patient as a human being.
Okay, so I think that the orthodontists have mastered the ROF. Okay, so we were going to teach this class a couple years ago, and it just so happened that it was the week after one of my daughters went to the orthodontist. And so here's what they did. They took pictures of her pretty little face and their x-rays. And I'm no doctor, and I don't know what x-rays of the mouth look like, but her teeth were going this direction. So he could have told me any amount of money. I knew those pictures were wrong, that she needed help. It could have been $15,000. I would have paid it. So that's what we need to do, is make sure that we're looking like the orthodontists do. What is it that's wrong? I've done this before. In fact, I treated 2 of these this morning. So when this story about my daughter is for real, I thought it was awful. I mean, literally 2 teeth growing right. And he told me I had 2 patients like this right this morning. I'm like, oh, and of course I know how it works, but I fell for it. And I'm like, really? Was it okay? Was it bad? Really took me right through it. I had 2 of them this morning. I do these all the time. It's not that big not that big a deal because I can fix it, but it is a big deal if you don't take care of it. He explained how long it was going to be. He explained what her pain levels are going to be, that she had 3 or 4 key places where she was going to be in a lot of pain. And if we don't do anything, her front teeth are going to fall out because the teeth are going to ruin all of the roots, and all of her teeth will come out. So they have it mastered. So how can you be like the orthodontist? Okay, so the financial consult. You have to answer this final question: how much does it cost? And docs, do not do this yourself. Okay, let me repeat myself. Do not do this yourself. So my husband, when I'm not in the office, thinks he can do this himself. And the only patients that ever have a question later are the ones that he did. If I bring up the papers that the patient signed, his name's all over them. I'm like, why do you insist on doing this? And he never has a good answer. So honestly, you have other things to do. In the amount of time you can do a financial RF, you can treat 3 other patients and let a staff member do it. So, and they can be nice and clear and not give away the farm.
So this is not a joke. This is totally seriously. Last night we were prepping for this presentation and Wendy goes, can you hold for 5 minutes? And I'm like, of course. So I'm at my desk for 5 minutes. She comes back 5 minutes later. I'm like, everything okay? She said, yeah, I just had to do a financial report of findings. So.
And he said that quick? I'm like, yeah, bam, 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 right there.
So absolutely cool. So here's some keys to success for your financial report of findings, right? Number 1 is state the facts. You used to have a show on TV, Dragnet, right? Just here's the facts. Disconnect the emotion, right? Money always has emotion attached to it. You got to brush that emotion off when you go in and you're there as the advocate for the patient. You're just stating the facts, right? Make great eye contact. Don't minimize the condition. Really important. Sit knee to knee. Don't be behind a great big desk. Knee to knee with the patient. Neatness counts. Your desk should be absolutely spotlessly neat and tidy. People are not going to give you their health to be a shepherd of if you can't even be the shepherd of your desk, right? So be clear. If you've done insurance verification, have that prepared. Make sure that you're ready to pre-schedule the blocks of care that doc is prescribing for the patient. You want to do everything that you can to let the patient know that you are competent, that you're there to help them, that you're in control, and that they can be at ease and focus on the care that they're receiving because you're taking care of everything else for them.
Okay, so there's 2 choices. You can do an overview, total for the care plan, payment plan, and pre-schedule, or you could explain it in detail and get a total for the plan and a payment and a pre-schedule. It just kind of depends upon what the patient is. Some people, if you have an accountant sitting in front of you, they want to know every single exact line item, take you through the whole entire treatment plan. If it is Molly Mommy and she's got a toddler sitting on her lap, she doesn't care. She just wants, how long is this going to take? What's the total? Get me onto the treatment table. So you kind of have to read the person to know how to deliver how much detail. Okay, so the reason why my financial ROFs can go so quickly, I found years ago that I would come out of an ROF and be like, well, I forgot this and I forgot this and oops, how did I get off topic? And it would take 15 minutes and the patient would ask all these questions and I didn't nearly cover all of the information. So I learned a long time ago to use some sort of a form, and everybody hates forms. I love them. This is my favorite form and everybody laughs because anytime I say that, it's every form that I say that on, but truly this is the exact form we use in our office. And what it does is it's an outline to make sure I cover everything I need to cover in a nice, easy, consistent, clear manner. So I can be sure that the message that I'm giving the patient is the message that I wanted to give the patient. So what I say and what I said are the same thing. It also helps clarify what they hear so that all three of those are the same. So really, it's just an overview of what's on the insurance verification. Many people just use the insurance verification sheet. I find that they get really, really messy. You end up writing very quickly or whatever. So we just do it on this because it's nice and easy. So I sit down with them and I turn it around on a clipboard. Mrs. Smith, great news. You've got wonderful insurance. It's Blue Cross. Your benefit year starts in January and it starts over each and every January. The good news is you don't need any referrals, but you do need authorization. What authorization is we need to ask permission to treat you for your insurance company. Blue Cross is super easy to deal with. We never really have an issue. You have a 20 visit chiropractic max and a 30 visit PT. And so notice we're just going down the form. You have a $20 coinsurance after a $500 deductible. What that means is, and you take them through all of the details. Notice it talks about x-rays, talks about deductibles, what it applies to. Sometimes it applies to chiro, but not PT, and vice versa. Do they have DME coverage? And then you have the patient initial. Do you understand your coverage? Yes, I do. It's very simple. And they initial. And then you explain the terms. What a deductible means is, or I'm going to do a payment plan. I'm going to pay each visit. You can let them know. In our office, a deductible usually comes through at approximately, I always say $85 a visit. You know how deductibles work. It'll come through at $72.53 or $89.74. It's always a weird number like that, and the patients are now laughing. I have never found a patient get mad at me if I tell them that the estimate of their deductible is 85, and I use that example of the range. Now, I have had every single one get mad at me. If I tell them it's going to come through at $82.29 and it comes through at $83, they are outraged. Outraged. So I just give it to them in an estimate. Same thing with coinsurance. But again, I explain everything as we go. And when we start talking about the options, explaining the terms, if they could do a payment plan, pay each time they go into the office. And this goes right down the form. And then I explain other options. Let's say that I'm going to have non-cover services. What if I'm going to add on laser care or massages, things like that? I let them know that sometimes your insurance company is going to send you some forms. Please make sure you fill them out. No matter how wordy and vague the words are, they want you to send those forms back. And please give us a copy of anything you send back in. If they've got a $5,000 deductible, they may not realize that they can elect to not use their insurance, but you need to explain the parameters. I don't have to use my insurance if I choose not to, but these visits will never go to the insurance company. And I have check marks on them so they can check each and every single one of them. Therefore, I am responsible, and here is the price. I understand that they'll never go towards my deductible, but if I choose in the future to change my mind, I can do that going forward. And you just explain all of the terms to them. If you use a time of service discount, you can explain that. If you use full fees, you can explain that. If you use a plan similar to CHUSA, you can do that as well here. And it just takes you through so that you dot all the I's and you cross all the T's.
So Wendy mentioned payment plans, and payment plans are absolutely a black belt tool in handling patient finances. So remember that brand new iPhone that everybody can have? Well, the reason you can buy $1,000 iPhone, which is about what they cost now, I think, is you pay on a monthly basis, right? Same thing, Wendy, you mentioned you bought a car. Probably you do monthly payments on your car, home monthly payments on your mortgage. So using the payment over time principle allows you to make sure that care fits into anybody's family budget. It's a matter of adjusting the payments so that it fits into their budget. Most people get paid once a month or once every 2 weeks, right? So having a budget-sized payment plan that fits into their family budget is essential, right? So we have a great way of creating payment plans for our patients, and we've developed a spreadsheet that helps us do that.
So first you need to know what your clinic information is. What are my fees for a wellness visit? What are my fees if they if let's say that they had a 10 visit max and they still need more care? What are my fees for that visit going to be? happens if such and such insurance company has a deductible? What's my estimate that that's going to come through? Now, you have to have some of these estimates in there to make some proper calculations. I used this example already. I know in my office, Blue Cross comes through around $85. If I have no idea how it's coming through, I don't know how many visits $500 of a deductible are going to be. Having that estimate in there lets me know that it's probably going to be 5 to 6 visits, and then the deductible is used up. That helps me make a payment plan. Is it exact? No. Does it need to be exact? No. And I tell the patients that it's an estimate.
And it's written right there. This is an estimate.
It's an estimate. So for number one, you got to have that information. If you don't have that base information, nothing else is going to calculate. So then you want to enter the patient's insurance coverage. Do they have a visit max? Do they have a money max? Do they have a copay, co-insurance, deductible? Couple of the few of them. So you need to add all of the patient's coverage into the form to make the calculations. And I have boxes to do all that. So then the form autofills and starts calculating, with the example I gave, $500 for deductible, went ahead and calculated it's going to take 6 visits. The remaining visits go towards copay. I missed in there that you also have to put the recommended number of visits. So this is key. Okay, so everybody listen up on this. If you know that they have a herniated disc and it's going to take 20, 25 visits to fix this, maybe 30, whatever it is, do not write the payment plan for a different amount of visits. I know that that sounds funny. In breakthrough coaching, we have some pre-written forms. They're almost like recipes for the treatment plan, and you pick the right time period, and then after it's chosen, then you kind of customize it from there. Do not choose a 25 visit care plan and then only write the payment plan for 20 visits. It's not congruent. And usually what happens is you're pulling it on the fly, make this payment plan for 25 visits, and then you run off. And then when you come back, you've forgotten what you told your financial CA to do, and you pick another plan. So just make sure it's never going to end up equal if the numbers aren't right.
Having everybody on the same page is absolutely essential.
I call that day 1.5. Do not skip day 1.5. It's where you choose what you want, and everybody in the office falls in line and does everything on the back end to make day 2 successful. So you can also put extras on here. I'm going to sell 10 laser visits. We're going to send a pillow home. We're going to do 12 massages as well. Whatever it is that you need a line item add on here, there's a place for you to do that. And then what happens is it gives them a number of ways that they can pay for things. They can pay up front, they can pay in 2 payments, 3 payments, 10 payments, whatever's going to happen. But what happens here is the idea is a normal treatment plan in a chiropractic office will take couple weeks, up to 12, to get through the acute care, and then 6 months of wellness care. What that does is it puts that term out longer so that you can do 10 monthly payments. Now this one is really large, it's $393, but remember I had a pillow, I had 12 massages and 10 lasers in there. So that's a really large treatment plan. Most often in my office for about 30 visits, it's going to come through in that 100, 120 range. If they had like a $700 deductible, maybe a $30, $40 copay, that's where we're looking at that under 150 price range. And most people can afford that.
And then you have this on auto debit or auto credit card payment,
easy,
right? And that removes all of the pain of patient finances. It's nothing worse than getting your chiropractic adjustment. You're feeling great. And then you have to go up to the front desk and pay, right?
Yep.
Worse if you have to pay every time. Every time the patient has to go into their pocketbook or into their wallet to pay, they also can go into that wallet and make a decision not to pay. Yep. And so we want to remove that that pain of payment from the equation so that once this is set, we're going to go ahead and have that patient be able to come in. It takes away the bottleneck up at the front desk, right? If somebody's trying to intake a patient and answer a phone and then collect money from a patient, that's a very stressful thing. So if I could remove that very significant task of doing patient collection over the front desk, I relieve so much stress from that position. Really, really key.
Now, a couple things to understand. So to streamline this, I don't run payment plans every single day. That drives me crazy. I run them all on the 15th. So if anybody's card declines or we need to get updated information, that's all done at the same time. I'm not calling one or two people every single day. So that really streamlined it for us. I picked the 15th because most rent is due on the 1st. So it just made it easy. 99.9% of the patients take care of it. We also do memberships for massages the same way. We do those on the 1st. So I do it 2 times a month. Another thing is you have to be very clear in your scripting. So the way I introduce a payment plan is some patients find it overwhelming to pay a $40 copay 3 times a week for 4 weeks in a row. And the patient's like, oh, yes. If it's overwhelming to do that, we can do a payment plan where we choose a number that's affordable and you pay that amount each and every month and you can budget for that. And so you can actually physically see the stress come off the patient's face. Well, then I go even further. I said, have you ever ran a bar tab? And they always say yes, because who doesn't understand a bar tab? I said, it works very similarly to a bar tab. You pay for what you use. So in the first month, you're going to use 12 visits, but you're only going to pay for 3 or 4. And at the end, you're going to use 1 visit, but you're going to pay for 3 or 4 you already used. And all the light bulbs start going off. Because when you put a payment plan out there and you don't put it against something they understand, they're automatically going to think of it like a gym membership, which it is not. It is not that I pay $100 a month and have unlimited benefits. That's not how it works here. So making sure that you push it to something that they can visually understand, like a bar tab, really cuts down on all the confusion.
I love that.
And they think it's funny.
And so the third leg of the stool to make a firm foundation, number 1 being your clinical report of findings, number 2, your financial report of findings, and number 3, the home run, is pre-scheduling the blocks of care. If you can pre-schedule all of the care, even better, right? If you schedule on a visit by visit basis, it's back to let's make a deal. The patient's going to tell you all about their daily schedule. Oh, I've got this on this day. I've got soccer on that day. That day I'm going to get my hair done or my manicure or pedicure or whatever. Oh, I've got to pick up the kids after school. You don't want to know all of those data points in their daily schedule. What you want is the opposite, is that we want to make sure that we know that your time is valued highly here. And so when you come in for an appointment, we're going to do our very, very best to have a no waiting time for you, so that if you schedule a particular time, not like most doctors' offices where you go in and you sit in the reception room and you read magazines for half an hour, you're going to come into our practice and you're going to be seen. And the way that we can do that is because we're going to pre-schedule your appointments, and we'll save the same time each date that you're scheduled to come in for you. So if you are a morning person, know that we can save a morning visit for you. An afternoon person, we'll save that afternoon visit for you. So this way, the patient knows that at 11 a.m. on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, if those are your scheduled days, that's their time, right? And you can always make an exception for a visit to the rule. I've got parent-teacher meetings that day. No problem. We can change that day. But for the most part, they understand that for the time that they're going to be coming in, we've reserved their time for them. So it makes your office the priority, which, by the way, it's their health. You're teaching good, healthy habits, good, healthy behaviors is, hey, mom, put yourself first. Your health is the priority for your family, not just for you, but for your family as well. So pre-scheduling is a great, great, great tool. So in closing, I want to tell you, show value, create a world-class experience, and always strive to not just meet, but exceed your patient's expectations, and patient finances are going to be a breeze. Now, we've prepared an ebook for you that details a lot of the information that we've covered in today's presentation. And you can receive this ebook really, really easily by texting the word STOP 123, STOP 123, text it to the number 334 444. So you can take a screenshot or we'll put it in the comment section later on. But text stop 123 to 33444. And so this has been Dr. Mark Santa and my compatriot there, my cohort is Wendy Lee. We really appreciate being with you today. And we wish you to make today an exceptional day. Don't let patient finances get in the way.